everyone, this is Tim, and today I'm going to answer a question that the gentleman gamer, aka ClackClickBang, had proposed some time ago. And the question is, why do you persist in role-playing? And it is a question that makes you wonder, that makes you ask yourself, where would you be, perhaps, if you never started playing games? If you never picked up those funky dice and started rolling them and talking in funny voices? It makes me think that role-playing has influenced me greatly, and for the better. I believe that I'm a better person now because of it. I'm definitely more social. So, why do I persist in role-playing? Especially with all the challenges that I have. With my son, and my marriage, I guess, has some challenges. Work. All of these things. But it's a nice release, a nice way to spend some time to calm down, to de-stress, to forget about the world for a while. Now, there are some questions about escapism, and is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Are you just running from your problems if you're escaping? But I think as long as it isn't overdone, there's nothing wrong with escapism. There's nothing wrong with putting your problems that you always have with you and putting them on the shelf for 4 or 6 hours, or if you're lucky and you play longer, at longer periods of time. But I definitely enjoy playing. It's something that I look forward to, and as you can tell by my YouTube channel, it's something that I like to talk about. It gives me something to do when I can't actually play. In fact, it's pretty obvious, I guess, that I talk about RPGs more than I get to play them. More than the time I get to sit around the table with my friends. So why do I persist? All kinds of reasons. I think that it's something that I greatly love, and it's something that perhaps that I didn't expect to love this much. I have other hobbies. I used to fish, I used to hunt, but a lot of these things kind of took the back burner when I got married. And I married a girl from out of state, so that had its own problems and challenges. And she was a little bit clingy, so I couldn't go out and do a lot of the activities that I'd once done. But that's, I guess, some personal information. But anyway, what I was trying to say is that role-playing is a hobby that I could do at home. I could invite some friends over, and it wasn't a big deal. Or I could go over a week, like weekday, and a week, and that would be fine too. It's I don't know. It's something that just has a lot of meaning for me. I have a lot of memories when I think about role-playing. All the various games I've played, all the people that I've played with over the years that I probably can't remember their names, but I remember their faces. Although at this point in my life, some of the faces are fading as well. But I have a lot of good memories, a lot of nostalgia. Simple things like me and my brother learning RPGs from scratch with no one to teach us. That was pretty cool. That was an exploratory journey that we both took. I remember things like photocopying Rollmaster character sheets and critical hit charts at the local gas station. And the two old ladies that worked there, and they never understood what we were doing, but they, enjoyed the business. I think it's because I get to share something with others. I get to, hopefully impress others with my abilities that I've built up over the years. Abilities that have been greatly influenced by the YouTube RPG Brigade. There are probably other activities I could do instead of role-playing, instead of making these videos about role-playing games, but I always come back. Even if I get burnt to a crisp, if there's a period of time where I put RPGs on the shelf for a couple of years, and there have been periods of time in my life where that happened. Maybe something else came in, like Magic the Gathering, or I went off to college and I was really, engrossed in my schoolwork, at least for a year before I, dropped out and went to community college. um, but I don't know. There's just a lot of thoughts that I think about when I think about this question. It's a good question. I could be playing video games that are designed by others, and it doesn't take as much effort. But to be honest, I think it is that effort. It is that way to itch, or basically just to scratch that creative itch. I like to be creative. I used to be, I don't know, a fairly decent artist. I always did great in my art classes in high school, and that was a nice creative outlet for me. I, write some bad poetry here and there. That's another outlet. But for me, the ability to create an entire setting from scratch, to be able to share in a story that happens at the table with some fellow creative people, that sort of brainstorming thing that happens when you're all sitting around and talking about things. It's quite marvelous. It's nothing like anything I've ever experienced. It's very unique. It's a hobby that is very misunderstood, but once you get it, once you crack that nut and understand what that that kernel is of truth and just entertainment in that center, I think most people are hooked if they get in a great group with other players, or even if they're in a bad group, they at least maybe they get the idea or the theory of it, and then hopefully find better groups to play with. They move on to greener pastures. So I definitely keep coming back even when I take breaks, because I love it. I couldn't think of other things that would be better for me to spend my time on when I'm just hanging out at house. My wife likes to take a lot of naps, so a lot of times I'll be talking to people on Skype about RPGs because she's taking a nap. But it's something to look forward to when I have nothing else to do, and oftentimes it's something that I do when I have other things to do. It's a nice distraction. It's a nice break if you have college homework. I've been working on this for a couple hours. I'm going to start tinkering on that campaign I've been working on for a couple years, or let me think about my setting for a while, and it gives you a break from whatever laborious, mechanical, repetitive tasks that you have to do in your daily life. It's something more than your typical boring life. And not all of you have boring lives. I'm not saying everyone, but my life's pretty boring sometimes. So it gives me something to do. It works these creative muscles up here, my brain, so it doesn't turn into mush. And I'm thankful for that. So I'd be remiss to say, or not say that it's fun. It's very entertaining. And there's no other hobby I know of that does that allows you to be creative and to have fun in such an interactive way with others. It's a whole new thing. It takes entertainment to a whole new level. And there's also something sort of rebellious about RPGs. There is that notion of you need to upgrade to the latest system, but it's probably not said enough that you don't need much. You can find a free RPG PDF online. You might have to buy some dice, or if you're really poor, you can make some chits out of paper, and that's all you need. Maybe some pencils and some paper. And it's kind of rebellious because you don't need you don't need a lot of power. You don't need a battery. You don't need to recharge anything unless you're have your character sheet on an iPad or something. It's very organic. It harkens back to people sitting around a campfire and telling a story, sharing in something, creating things together. I don't know about a lot of you, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of push in this modern society to be creative. Most of it is things like stand in line, do your repetitive task, be a good consumer and producer, and art doesn't pay for anything, so why would you do that as a career? A lot of the creative things are frowned upon, unless you're really successful, and then you're like a superstar, musicians and things like that. But for the everyday person out there, it's you're told to go to work, pay your taxes, be law-abiding citizens, and even if you are all of those things, it's nice to have a hobby like this where you can do things you wouldn't do in normal everyday life. Have a little bit of catharsis if you had a bad day at work. You can go into a cave and have a little bit of ultra violence and kill some goblins or kobolds or something. I don't know. There's probably lots of answers to this question. And at this point, I'm pretty much rambling. So if anybody out there is hearing about this video for the first time, the Gentleman Gamers, I will link it down below in the dungeon. And feel free to make your own video response to him. It's a great question, and it just took me a while to get around to filming this. I am actually in the back here. It's dark, and I have to film where I can film, where I can make noise and not wake people up, not cause a stir. So thanks for watching, and I hope all of you enjoy role-playing games as much as I do. And if you don't, if there's something about it that you don't like, why don't you put that down below, or if you don't feel like doing a video response, leave a comment. Maybe tell me briefly in like 500 characters why you think, why do you persist in role-playing games? So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good night. Peace.